Alright, so imagine standing in front of the most powerful king in the land, surrounded by the royal guards, his magicians, and his mighty advisors. Now, imagine having nothing but a wooden stick in your hand and daring to challenge the powerful king. That's exactly what Aaron and Moses did. And guess what? That stick wasn't just a stick. It was about to become a miracle. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of Aaron's staff turning into a snake. This wasn't just some party trick. This was a bold message from God himself. Are you ready? Let's dive right into it. Now, picture the scene. Pharaoh's palace is huge with tall stone walls and golden statues of Pharaoh's gods. People around are dressed in fancy robes, and the air is thick with sense of intense. Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, sits on a massive throne, surrounded by his magicians and advisors who act like they know everything. But in the middle of this grand palace stands two simple men, Moses and his brother Aaron. They're not wearing fancy clothes or carrying weapons. Instead, Aaron has just one thing, a staff, a simple wooden stick. The guards look at them like, who are these guys? But Aaron isn't afraid. Moses wasn't either. They know they're carrying something far more powerful than what the eye meets. Now, here is where things get intense. Standing in front of Pharaoh, Aaron takes his staff, raises it up, and lets it fall on the ground. And then, bam, right before everybody's eyes, that ordinary wooden stick changes, and it doesn't just drop, it transforms into a living, written snake. The guards gasp. The magicians stare, and Pharaoh raises an eyebrow. But Pharaoh's magicians aren't about to back down. They toss their own staff to the ground, and they too become snakes. But here's the twist. Aaron's snake isn't just any snake. It's fierce, and it starts swallowing up all the other snakes. One by one, Aaron's snake devours every magician's snake in that palace. And in that moment, everyone knows this power isn't just magic, it's something far greater. Alright, now let's step back a bit. Turning a piece of wood into a snake. Scientifically speaking, that is not possible. This doesn't make any sense. Wood doesn't have skin, muscles, bones, or heartbeat. It's like trying to turn a rock into a bed. No matter what you do, it just can't happen. Science tells us that living things need cells and DNA, right? While a staff is just, well, wood, it doesn't have any life in it. This goes against everything we know about how things work. So, when Aaron's staff turned into a snake, it was just a clear message that this isn't some human trick. This is God showing up and saying, I make the rules. It's what we call a wonder because it defies science and logic, leaving us in awe. Now, think about Moses and Aaron for a moment. They are standing in this grand palace with people who are probably laughing at them, doubting them. They've got no weapons, no fancy title, just little faith in the God they serve. Can you imagine the courage it took in that moment as Aaron saw his staff turning into a snake and swallow up the other snakes? He must have felt something incredible. A deep, unshakable confidence that God was with them. And for the Israelites who were suffering as slaves, this was a sign of hope. They might have felt forgotten, but through this miracle, they were reminded that God sees their struggles and is fighting for them. That simple staff turning into a snake wasn't just a sign of power. It was a sign of promise that God hasn't forgotten his people. Let's pause for a little life here. Imagine the faces of those magicians as they watch Aaron's snake swallow up their snakes one by one. They probably started out smirking, thinking we can do that too. But then, surprise, their snakes were on the menu and Aaron's snake was hungry. Picture one magician nudging another, whispering, is this supposed to happen? And Pharaoh, who is trying to keep his serious face, is probably thinking, did that really just happen? It's like the biggest incredible moment in the history of magic tricks. And that, my friend, is the difference between the human trick and divine power. When God shows up, there is no competition. Now, here's the big takeaway. God is in control. Let me say it again. God is in control. Pharaoh thought he was the most powerful person in the world. His magicians thought they had all the tricks, but God showed them that real power doesn't need tricks. Real power comes from God and it can overcome anything. Sometimes we face things that seem impossible, challenges that feel way too big, but this story reminds us that when we rely on God, we don't need to be afraid. Just like Aaron, we might feel small or ordinary, but with God, we can face any giant, any obstacle. God's power isn't just for Bible stories. It's real and it's here for us today. And that's the story of Aaron's staff, Wonder Tribers. It's not just a story about a stick turning into a snake, not at all. It's about courage, it's about faith, it's about the power of God to do the impossible. When we trust in God, there is no limit to what He can do through us. So if you are ever in a moment when things look tough, remember Aaron's staff. It was just a piece of wood, but in God's hand, it became a mighty symbol of hope and strength. Now, if this episode of Wonder inspired you, I implore you to join the Wonder Tribe by hitting the subscribe button below this video and turning on notifications so you can get notified when we drop new content. Also, don't forget to like the video, drop a comment, and please subscribe. Till I come your way next Sunday, I'm your Wonder Tribesman, Prosper Machuku, bringing you the mysteries of love.